No, I'm with you there. The question I got is, 28, there's not going to be a Trump. Unless if it's Eric running or Don running, which I don't know if either one of them will be running then, but maybe Eric will. But there's not going to be a Trump, Donald Trump Jr. that's going out, Donald Trump, that he's going out there driving the way that he is. And there's this notion that, you'll see the meme going around, Trump this many years, Trump this many years, then it's going to be JD, then it's going to be this, then it's going to be that, and we're going to have it for the next 25 years. Which, by the way, there's nothing wrong with being confident and playing offense and being aggressive and assertive. You should be. You should have that mindset that we're winners, we're going to keep winning, and this is the winner's mindset. But, the enemy is sitting there and asking themselves, say if there's not a July, the assassination attempt that took place at Butler. Because that speech he gave, RNC, the energy, the way it was magical. Something happened to it. Musk came in. I'm in the day. I've never seen anything like this before, right? And then Rogan came in and did the podcast at the end. And then he went on all these other podcasts and did what he did, the president. He worked his tail off to win. But say that doesn't happen. Say Biden stays in. Say, they mix it up. So to me, 2028 is a little bit weird. And the reason why I'm asking this concern is because even on MAGA, there is Republicans in D.C., then there's online Republicans. Then there is MAGA Twitter. Then there's those that are now going against it. There is a little bit of a, challenge going on with these different opinions and factions that you have politically. And some of it has to do with Israel. Israel became a very, very divisive topic. You're bot, you're AIPAC, you're this, you're that. And then let's come out, yeah, those guys are AIPAC supporters. No, it's this, so that's created a little bit of the division between them. Netanyahu's really making a decision, and they're getting bigger and bigger, louder online social. Some of it is, tempered, gone a little bit lower. But what do you foresee happening with this little civil war that's going on with the social media influencers of MAGA, which, by the way, they may say it's not mainstream, it's not a big deal. These are nobodies. They're just social media guys. I don't think that's true. I think they're getting millions on top of millions of people that are paying attention to them. And I think it's going to matter more in 28 than it did in 2024. How do you manage that relationship, two sides that are completely on the opposing side, to say, guys, why don't we find a way to come together and win this thing? How do you see that happening?
Well, I certainly think it's very important, the message towards the people who are listening and like the younger generation trying to figure things out. I mean, I remember being 18, 20, 22, having questions on different issues that were important to me. I didn't have the answers to everything. I didn't have it all figured out. And if you're trying to figure it out and you are looking up to these voices with followings, maybe you're listening to different opinions and you're trying to form your own judgment. I mean, like, we need to lean into speaking to young conservatives. There are a whole lot of that younger generation who, like, they're very interested in the government. Like, they care about the country, they care about service. They're raised with great values. They want to participate in the process. They're proud of being conservatives, but they don't have it all figured out yet. And no one should expect them to have it figured out. We need to be speaking to them. And there isn't just any one way to get to this audience. I remember not that long ago, I mean, dating us, like, I had a 13-inch TV that had a knob of 13 channels, and like with the antenna above my black and white TV, you try to maybe get reception for like 7 or 8 of them. I remember when all of a sudden there was a 24-hour news cycle. That was crazy. Like, every day the news would change. There's a 7-hour news cycle. Now we'll spend this time together, and while we're sitting here, there'll be all sorts of different news that's popping. Yeah. And with social media and with podcasts and with people who, I guess, they go to cable news, they go to radio, they go to newspapers. Like, it's so diluted though, and podcasts are rising, and social media platforms have amazing reach. It's important to be meeting this audience everywhere, meeting them where they are. There was a time, like, first got into politics. I mean, I ran for Congress in 2008. you do a poll like, where do you get your news from? And it was a multiple choice question. And I would have to go back and look at the poll, but I'm pretty sure I didn't say podcasts. Twitter wasn't a thing back then. It's very important for us to be getting into all of those mediums and to have those conversations. This is one thing I love about Charlie Kirk. Charlie would show up at these universities, and he was a dear friend, and it's maddening that he is not with us right now. That he would go to these university campuses and encourage people to come up. If you agree with him on 19 topics out of 20, he would want you to come up on the one topic you don't agree on. This is actually the guy who spoke just before he was assassinated, was somebody who agrees with Charlie on like everything except religion, apparently. I was watching some interview, and he wanted to then approach Charlie on religion and engage. Charlie Kirk was meeting these young conservatives where they were at, on their college campuses, on podcasts, on radio, TV, on social media. We really need to do a better job of that between now and 2028, and answer these questions. Because what happens is if you leave the vacuum, then some of these voices with the wrong answers only, and they might do it with an incredible amount of, they might be filled with charisma, they might have a sense of humor, they might be young as well, and if they're the only voice answering the question and they're making enough sense, then they're moving people towards thinking, all right, well, maybe that wrong thing is actually the right answer, and then they end up adopting it as their own. So I think that's the biggest thing between now and 2028. There are many places that you're not going to find conservative leaders and voices, people who do have the right answers on these questions these young conservatives have, but there's this disconnect, and those sound voices in the movement have not yet made it to that young 18-year-old, or maybe it's a 15-year-old right now who will be registered to vote by 28.
Yeah, I agree. I think you got to talk to them. I think you got to be aware of them, and I think you got to, if you sit there and think these guys are not going to be formidable, they're just getting bigger. I don't think they're going to get any smaller. I think the momentum is here, and I think 2028, 2032. 2036, some of them are going to be on the ballot competing against others. We're playing a very different game. Politics is a sport today. It's always been a sport, but it's a contact sport like never before, and it's getting interest of younger kids that once were never interested. Like, why would I care about this? And I was like, wait a minute, do you see the competition? I want to be able to out-debate this person. So there's a certain level of excitement with it. When we set out to create a shoe that blends comfort, function, and luxury, we had the choice to make it fast. We had the choice to make it cheap. We chose neither. Instead, we chose Tuscany, Italy. We chose true Italian craftsmanship, each pair touched by 50 skilled hands. We chose patience, spending 2 years perfecting every detail, and we chose the finest quality at every step. Introducing the Future Looks Bright collection. Not rushed, not disposable, not ordinary. Rather, intentional, luxurious, timeless. If you enjoyed this video, you want to watch more videos like this, click here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click here.